Good morning, good afternoon, good time of day, good evening, good dusk, good dawn. Zion Austin back at you with the Lambda log for week 6, day 3, the 10th of June. I'm tired, but we're locking in. I got to school at 8, just before 8. I got there before the school opened, so I could practice my thesis a little bit. I put it on its feet for the first time. I just held the script in my hand and I pantomimed a lot of the props, but I got it for I ran it in 17 minutes and 46 seconds, which I think is pretty good place to be. I have a 2-minute buffer on each side, so it's supposed to be 20 minutes, but it can be anywhere between 18 and 18 and 22. Also yesterday, I forgot to mention this, but one of the things I did in prepping is I made my little sheets that are going to be in my thesis. So this is my first little guy, the king, with some nonsensical instructions. The conquistador and the patriot. So I have those that I'm working with. Cool. And I need some props and stuff, but we'll get them. We'll get them. It'll be great. And then we had audition, and our special guest was Baron something. I can't remember his last name, but it was the All My Sons audition. I read for two people in the morning before my audition. So the first person went, and then I read for two people. Oh, excuse me. And then I went. So I was like, back. And when I first got in there, he asked me, like, what's my take on the character? And all he's been talking to me about the hinterland and what's underneath the character and what's the mask and all this stuff forever. And so I really wanted to emphasize that this time. So I thought that Chris is he has always been in love with Anne, but Anne was dating his brother Larry, and so that was a wrong feeling. It was a forbidden feeling, and he was a good person, a rule follower, and so that was wrong, and so he's kept that feeling of this always being wrong. And so now that Larry's gone, he still carries that guilt and then the shame of feeling like this is not a good feeling, this is not right. And so he's kept the door open a crack, but because he's still in love with her and been in love with her forever. But now that he's kind of coming to terms with Larry's death, he's like, this is how I feel. And so I was trying to play that struggle. And then after I did it the first time, he's like, wow, that's a very what do you say, like insecure or questioning guy. I was like, yeah, he is. I was like, that is correct. He's like, yeah, where do you feel that shame and guilt? I was like, it's in his gut. He's like, okay, move it up to your shoulders and imagine that you have like this ball on your shoulders that that you have to balance. Like, but don't do this the whole time, but like internalize it. Like, how do you fix or affect the shoulders as you're dealing with it? And it went pretty well. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Um, yeah, then we had 18th century dance. And we learned this minuet step, which took me forever to learn. Shout out Sandridge, by the way. I'll show you. The minuet step is like this. So you come up, together, and down, up, up, up. It's hard to do it with here. So like up, together, down, up, together, down, up, together, down, up, together, down. So you go down. It's like up, together, down, up, together, down, up, together, down, up, together, down. If that makes sense. And then we moved that and took it around the room a little bit. It was all good. And then we moved to this little skip step. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. We learned this little skip. Ba-da, ba, ba-da, ba, ba-da. So it's like a little hop, skip, switch, hop, skip, switch, hop, skip, switch. Or skip, hop, switch. Yeah. And then we learned the English Grimstock, which, let's see if I remember. So you're facing your partner, and then there's like what would be traditionally the male side and the female side. And the first thing you do is you come in and you take your partner by the hand. You take 1, 2 step up and down, back 2 step up and down, and then you go simple left, simple right, double round. I think these are what they're called. And then you do it again. 1, 2, 3, up, down, back 2, 3, up, down, simple left, simple right. And these are also up and downs on those. And then da, 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 da. And then you go into the B section where you go da 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 ba ba da da ba ba da ba 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 da ba 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 da ba 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 ba. Then you're back in your position, and then you go for the second thing, and you go aside, which is what it's called. So you go dum bum bum bum. Then my partner's here. Back 2, 3 bum. Simple left, simple right, around, double round, I think. And then you go the other side. Da, 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 da. Simple left, simple right, around. And your partner doesn't mirror you. They also go left and right. So it's like simple left, simple right. Is that right? Yes. And then we just did that one. Oh, I'm wrong. You don't just go, well, that's one of the things we did. We did the skip like the whole time. But what you do normally is you're in a group of 6. So 3 couples. And you make this like figure 8, like a double figure 8. So when you're coming in from the outside, from the bottom, you're going in between. So you're going in, out, in, out, in, out, bum, bum, bum. That's the idea. So you're kind of make this weaving figure 8. So if you're on the far end, which my partner and I were on the far end, then your first step is to do the skip as you're going in, and the other group is going around, and then you go around, then you go in and around, and then you can do it like a wave, which you take your partner's hand, and while you're doing the skips, you go under, over, kind of a thing. And then after you do that section, oh, maybe that's what it was. We did, no, I don't remember. Yeah, so we did the regular skip, and then we did the wave in between. And then the last one is called the arm, where you begin and you just kind of cup each other's elbows and do like a little do-si-do thing. Dun, 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 dun. Go all the way around. And then simple left, simple right, around, double round. And then you do the other arm. Left, 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 left. Simple right, simple left, double round. Bam, bam. Always kind of thinking about pulling that chest up. And then you go into the figure 8 thing again. And this would probably be ta-ta, pa-pa, 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 pa-pa. That was it. That was super fun. And then we did Hole in the Wall one more time. Just practicing it again, which was the one I talked about last time, where you go around and through, and then they go around and through, and then the top the one goes with the two, and then you switch places. And you're like around and through, and then they switch places, and they take hands. You're like ha 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 ha. And then when you get back to your normal spaces, I believe it's the twos. Yes, the twos go through. And then you're like, haha. And we added the little wave thing, which wasn't part of it. But then you just like send the next group in. And then you're back you're always with your partner, but now you're with a new partner too. And then you go back. And you're like, ah, da da. And then when you get to the end, you step out for a second. And then if there's an uneven amount of people, or if there is an even amount of people, then both ends step out a minute. But alas. And that was our last 18th century dance, and it was delightful. It was a joy and a half. And then we had a voice to text with Jeremy, and we did the partner thing that we did last week as well, which I asked him like what he would call it, because usually everything has a name of sorts. Not this. It's just the Nadine George voice work partner work. So it was something that Alfred Wolfson kind of explored with his PTSD from World War I as a German soldier, and he kept experiencing these like screams and stuff, and so he got really into body work and embodying these sounds with music and just like screaming, and it really helped him like go. And yeah, and then we did it, which I already explained it last week, but like the head, turn, the shoulder, the chest. Oh, and then you come up with the feet and that whole thing. And then we said always be willing to modify for yourself to meet yourself as you are or where you are. And then we picked a place, a spot to share or explore a text in front of the class. And it was fun. Everyone kind of shared their own little things. And there's a few different languages. We had Danish, German, French. It was great. I should have done Spanish. But I was like, what do I know in Spanish? I could have done Joseph Smith's first vision. Vi una columna de luz más brillante que el sol directamente arriba de mi cabeza. But it was too late. So I did Sonnet 18 because I was like, oh, I know that. That could be fun. And there's no pressure to just do something else. And that was our last class with voice to text. And then lunch. And during lunch, I had to help a student like figure out a piano part for their singing audition, their final evaluation in acting through song. And just like, I did not have a lot of time. Then I scarfed down a sandwich. And then I went to clown, but then I forgot to change. And so I like changed, and it was whatever. But we jumped right down. And the first person had this big hat that was like stuffed. And so as he was breathing and kind of getting into it, Ari asked him if he liked gardens. And then he was like, oh yeah. And then he kind of took on the position of a gnome. He was like, and then took on another. And then he's like, oh, but there's doggies there. It's like, what do they do? And then he kind of became like this police gnome. And then he's like, oh, don't forget your catchphrase. And he's like, Kalawa. He's like, oh, what does that mean? Kalawa. He's like, stop, no more. Kalawa. And then he's like, oh, don't stop me now. And then it turned into singing, don't stop me now. Gonna have a good time. I'm having a ball. He's like, no, sing it in your mother tongue. So he's singing in Danish. And then it turned into like showing his he's like, oh, but Superman is the same in Danish as it is in English. He was like, Superman. He's like, it's the same. And then he started taking on like the physical. He's like, oh, Superman. And then he was like, oh yeah, show me your arsenal. And he's like, pew, 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 pew. And then all his like fingers became guns. And then he lost it. Then he asked him, why are you so silent? And and he was getting warm. He's like, "Are you hot? Take off your hat." And so he took off his hat. Then he let his curls flip and flow, and then he made a bit out of that. And then, oh, like a L'Oreal commercial. And he started saying like, "Because you're worth it." And then there was a big Danish cat, and so meow meow, which turned into making it jazzy in a song. Um, and then he was playing the instruments: trombone, sax, flute, French horn, clarinet. Um, and then he finished with the grand finale with a Danish scat song, like doobity beep bop, and that was great. And then the next person did part of their clown was this sock, this shark sock, um, and her shirt said "resting wine face," and so it started out with that, like resting wine face, and oh, he's like, "I like your face," and she's like, "Thanks, I grew it myself." He's like, "How did you do that?" He's like, she said, "With a hope and a prayer." And then she was like showing off her wine face. She's like, that was funny. And then he's like, "Don't ignore your friend." And it was like, oh, oh. And then that became a whole thing. And she didn't try to hide the ventriloquism at all. It was all like, "Rah." I was like, "I'm so happy to see you," or whatever. But her name was Delilah. And it's like, "Can you show Delilah's face?" She's like, and then asked Delilah to tell us a truth about the clown. And then she said she cries out in her sleep and she sleepwalks. And then she had to leave and break up with her. So she did it with a kiss. And it was great. Shared with the audience. It was really funny. But then the kiss and then took it off and then she died. So she had a poison kiss, and so she sang a goodbye song and had a little funeral and then threw her behind a curtain. And then it's like, "Oh, you got a poison kiss. That's cool." And so then she blew a kiss to someone in the audience to see if it was poison, and it wasn't. So it's like, oh, that means Delilah was just sleeping. So she like kind of put her hand behind the curtain and put it back on. But then Delilah's head was upside down. So she's like, "Ah!" And then started talking like this, which was very funny. It was great. Yeah. And we have many different clowns and many different selves inside of us, and we can explore all of those. And then two people went together, which was great because we didn't have a lot of time. And so they just kind of volunteered. They both stood up. He's like, "Hey, can we go together for time?" He's like, "Okay, let's see what happens." And so they stood closer together. And then it was a look at, they need to look at the audience and then who's the boss. And so they picked a boss, and it's like, "Well, can you carry your employee?" So he like carried the other one, but clearly it was difficult. And they just kept a straight face, and then it was funny. And then the boss rode the employee like a horse, but then he was making goat noises, so he was a goat. And then he reminded them that they can't look at each other at the same time. One always has to be looking at the audience. So they made a little game out of that. And then they asked who was the more romantic, and they both said that they were. And so then they had to prove it. So the first one went around and spoke Italian to everyone, and then the second one sang a song, and he sang this incredible song for one of the students, and then the other one joined in, and it became this double song, and it was so funny. It was so good. I can't explain it. It was brilliant. And then our last person went and started with the breath, and then amplifying that breath, and then what's your name and where are you from. And she said Maryland instead of like Maryland. And she's like, "Yes, I'm from Maryland, the Maryland." And then we wanted to see all the seasons of Maryland. She had this like little kind of was kimono-esque. It wasn't that. It was kind of like a light linen robe of sorts with flowers on the back. And then yeah. And then she showed the seasons as a flower. And it was summer into autumn into winter into spring. And then as she acted the whole thing out, was great. She didn't have a lot of time, but she was killing it. And then Harry asked them if she was multilingual, and then what languages. And she's like, I can sing Italian, Spanish, French, and German. And he's like, oh, which one do you like the best? And she's like, Italian, because it's very big, open vowels. And so she said, he's like, okay, then I want you to sing this big, open, long, romantic song in German. And so it kind of became this drinking song, and then he switched it, switched a bunch of languages, and she had to do this big grand finale. Oh, and he said, I'll tell you a secret. I love the forest. And he's like, I want you to sing me a song about the forest. And she did, and it was killer. And she's like a professional musical theater performer. And so it was legit. So good. And then that was the end of Clown. Done and dusted. It was a joy. And then we had our acting through song evaluations, and I went fourth, and I think it went pretty well. I sang Goodbye, the bridge until the end. I'm not afraid of stopping. This end could be my start. I want to live a life and not just play a part. I'll walk into the sunset. I'll sail across the sea. The final word, the last you'll hear of me. Goodbye, goodbye, lovely night alone. Goodbye, goodbye to lives that I don't know. I'm tired of living on the stage, a life that's only on the page. Empty lies are in the past. I've tried before. Now here's the last goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. And that's like a B flat at the end. And I was like, can I do it? I hope I can. And I was trying desperately to find a time to warm up during. Oh, I skipped that. Before. Before acting through song, we had audition part 2. But I wasn't auditioning, and so I was just kind of hanging out with the other people who were waiting to sing their song and stuff. And I was desperately looking for a room because after lunch I was like, "Can I hit that note? I hope I can." But I did, and I think I've really figured out kind of how to hit that a lot more consistently, and I found the placement for it. And then I also sang "Never Ever Getting Rid of You" from Waitress, and that was fun. I had some like lyric mix-ups, and the rhythm was kind of different than I anticipated, but it was great. I felt really good about Goodbye, and I felt comfortable with Never Ever Getting Rid of You. And that was the day. Afterwards, we stayed later to do a read through of a thesis I'm working on, and it was great. And then he brought snacks and stuff. It was really cool, and had some good information about it. But that was Wednesday, my last Wednesday of skills classes. So yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll come back again for Thursday. Bye-bye.